Is that delicious beverage?
Duh.
Hey, welcome to episode 5, 2024, episode 5, Allison and Marc, the podcast.
That song is growing on me.
Oh, I know.
Welcome.
But we got a lot going on in this show. Last week was...
Wait, I got to read our mission
Okay,
statement.
that's right.
Because that's what I see people do on podcasts. Welcome to the Allison and Marc. What?
Go ahead.
Welcome to the Allison and Marc podcast, Married in Media. We are two Gen X media pros who happen to be married with 3 grown kids. We talk about everything from politics to pop culture, a little bit of humor, history, relationship, news, or musings, and a whole lot of love. Welcome in.
Kendrick Lee, what's up, my
Welcome
brother?
in.
Babe, so Kendrick, we've seen Kendrick. We will see you at the Bea conference. This returns to Baltimore next week. We knew Kendrick when he was a long-haired single man. Babe, now he's married.
Pretty hair Kendrick?
Yeah, pretty hair Kendrick.
Pretty hair Kendrick.
With his child. And, it's awesome to see the growth.
So nice.
It's awesome to see the growth, right? Yeah. Also, and then, of course, who could ever forget...
Brandy, girl, I'm about to text you. I have an update.
Oh,
she knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, Brandy. What's Brandy Mermaid? What's Brandy's?
Curvy Mermaid.
Curvy Mermaid, ladies. Welcome to the show. We got a lot. So I on Facebook, I saw this, babe, when I was coming in. Shout out to Nicole Lindsay. She posted this. She said, "What is your motivation for marriage? Love, partnership, or a combination of the two?" In parentheses, partnership. Can we make more money together? I was like, oh, that's interesting. Love. I think you and I are probably idealistic. I think love, right? Love and family. It's
got to be love. Yeah.
Love and family was, I think, that's the driver. I never thought about the money piece.
Right.
But then we were older. We had our careers. So, we had our careers. But for us, I think that's important.
And we got married at a time before it was like couples were monetizing themselves really through the phone.
Yeah.
And through, there have always been speaking gigs and all that kind of stuff. But the phone piece is what it is. Brandy, I can't wait to text you.
And so,
wait a minute, let me ask Brandy. Brandy, may I I'm not going to give the people any details, but can I talk about our conversation yesterday without giving details? Let me know. Yeah. Brandy.
Okay. Now. What? We're waiting for Brandy.
Brandy, it's okay. Brandy's gonna do it.
Brandy, respond now. Okay. Yeah, so we have a packed show. Mm-hmm. Some moments. It was an interesting week for old Allison Seymour.
It was.
Yeah. Well,
what happened to me now?
Well, it was interesting. Oh, she said sure.
Okay. I have to tell the story.
Interesting because.
And I'm gonna email you.
We had. So it made me think of some things here. You had an ex in town.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you just hit me, hey, ex in town, invited to lunch, your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I cracked on you because I was like, what? This ain't the first time you had ex in town. The first time we had lunch. Why all of a sudden did I get a text? Now that makes a little flag come up, actually. But you're saying because I'm being more.
Because Marc, so for our whole relationship, this man, though he presents himself as a family man, and he is,
What?
he's an excellent husband and father, but this man got a wild streak, y'all. He is.
Wow.
Yes, you are an independent spirit, as I am too, and maybe that's why it works. I don't know, because you accept that in me, I accept that in you.
Yes.
Now, the way that it manifested in you, though, for all these years was, and the only thing we ever really argued about is, send me a text. Where are you? Or you said you're coming home at this time, or I just looked around the house. I'm calling to the house. Oh Lord, where's Mark? He's gone out. I don't know where he is. So you have started to, after 23 years, be super thoughtful and just considerate as far as letting me know, or hey, I'm stuck in traffic, this and that, because I think the world feels a little bit more dangerous now, feels a little more crazy out there in the streets. And because I appreciate that,
Rick Friday. Oh my goodness.
because I appreciate that, I think that we're in this stage now. I think because the kids are gone, so there are less distractions. And so, I was good letting you know. But let me tell the story about Brandy real quick, then we'll get into it.
Yes. And then again, we got to remember that Rick Party, we got a heavyweight checking in, a legendary voice, ladies and gentlemen.
Because every 47 eyeballs in here a legendary, but
legendary.
I understand.
And we got news about a legendary local talent too.
Hey, Corliss. Okay, so my girl Brandy is, I don't know, there's some people that Brandy and I have never met in person, but we've been connected all these years through social media. And I have said to you before that I feel like if I ever met Brandy in person, I would start crying.
Oh, well, no. And what's crazy is Brandy, we're close too.
She is just, Brandy is a whole vibe. So anyway, I posted some pictures from my
Kevin's checking
work
in
the
from
other
Colombia,
day.
by the way. If you're ever in Colombia, you got to look up Kevin. Colombia, yes.
And so Brandy said she saw somebody that was kind of cute in one of the photos. And now Brandy is much younger than we are, by about 10 years or so.
Yes.
But she was like, hey, who's that? And that's why I love her. Hey, who's that? She said, I'm crazy. Who's that?
Yes.
So I said, well, I'm going to follow up with this young man. I don't know how young he is, but he seems a little young. So I did today. And Brandy, I told him everything. And I said, she says, admittedly, she's probably a little older, whatever. And he was like, I don't discriminate.
Okay. Wait a minute, Brandy. Now don't write a check your body can't cash now.
He said, I don't discriminate. I said, well, where do you live? Because my girl, Brandy's on this side of town. And he said, I'm in Arlington. He said, but I got a car.
What is going on? Allison, the matchmaker.
And so everybody around us was just like, okay, like the godmother of the matching up, whatever. So Brandy, I want you to know, he asked for your social media, because I guess that's what these crazy kids do these days, social media. So I gave him your social media. So
Brandy, give us an invitation when the wedding happens. Now,
there you go.
Okay, Allison, enough avoiding your situation.
Sorry. Yeah.
So again, I remember. Okay. Kevin, if you're in Colombia, Kevin just checked in. Dave Anderson, the business bully, is now in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Oh Lord, I told you the heavyweights are here. Rick Party's in the building.
All right.
Brandy, Lauren in the house. Lauren Hill. Wait a minute now. Lauren Hill. Okay, so. Ex in town, not a big deal.
Yeah.
They've had lunch before with her exes.
The kids, now you got to understand. Now, this ex was a very important person in my life. He's been to our home before.
When I wasn't there.
No lies. He was at our home before. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
He's at our home before, wants to be close to the family dynamic and all of that. Our kids have, been in the same presence. This is the kind of person that he is in my life. But I know some people, they don't like, if you're an ex or whatever, and ultimately I broke up with him. I don't know if it matters. I don't know. But anyway, so yes. So
and then how was lunch?
Lunch was fine. It was great. But you know what I realized?
Dave Anderson said cheeks. Okay, Dave Anderson, don't you do that.
No, you know what I realized though, and I didn't tell you this. I kind of saved it for this moment because I said
for the show.
Yeah, because I kind of said
shout out to Dave Anderson who encouraged us to do this forever. We're finally doing it, Dave, Godfather, who's younger than us. Go ahead.
So shout out to you because I saved this for the show, but here's the thing. everything has its place in time. I realized that I was a much different person when I was with. I've said it before. I was married at a young age. I'm a different person than I was then. I'm a different person than I was with this boyfriend. I probably had like 3 real significant boyfriends in every phase of my life, and whenever I see them, I'm just like, yeah, I made the right choice because no, and that's and I'm really being serious and sincere. That's why I didn't tell you until this moment because I wanted to let you know that you know these people is crazy. Like all of my exes have gone on to fame and fortune, and you know, and
they all millionaires,
right? Fame and fortune and all that. But at the end of the day, I realized that the Allison that I was in the past or with these different people is not the Allison I am now, is probably not the Allison that could have raised 3 kids in a stable, loving home like you have provided for us and for me and our family. And not saying at all that we're perfect. We go through our stuff. We're going to talk about a little bit today, but yeah, and I realized in that moment, and that is a beautiful feeling. It's a gorgeous feeling to be sitting there, you know, having lunch with someone and thinking, "Oh, I made the right choice." Not that there was anything like it's not a romantic lunch. It's not a "Oh, I wish I had," or there are these feelings, or "Oh, you still look so good." It wasn't any of that kind of stuff. It's like friend to friend, professional to professional, but almost like somebody who knows you, knows your roots and who you are. And there's comfort in that. You know, we don't have much family, extended family. So our friends become that. And I consider him, he was like, where's Mark? Like, is Mark coming?
Wallace,
that kind of
Mark,
thing.
Don't you cry. We'll get Wallace. You're right.
No, he's a crybaby. So anyway,
cry.
I saved it for the show. I wanted you to know that I made the right choice. I have no regrets in my life. I would rather go through you know, hard times in different ways with you than great times in that part of myself because I'm a different person now. So I love you. And I'm so happy that you're in my life.
What is going on?
I saved it for the show.
Benji's in the building. My childhood friend Benji's here, babe. Well, thank you so much. And you know what? We basically got into you know, we were talking about family and Wallace, as you said, I started talking about my father-in-law and just out of nowhere just started crying. It was crazy. And I'm an emotional person. But baby, wait a minute. Did it scare you?
Dave, sadly, I did not date Prince.
Almost though.
Sadly, I did not date Prince.
Let me say
I would drop names if I
did. So speaking of Prince and Allison, this video popped up.
Lord.
And I'm curious. Oh, yes. Kendrick's here. Dave is here. Benji's here. Now, what I don't want to happen, babe, is this goes viral. Then this was from years ago.
I know.
And it hopefully doesn't go viral. But I'm curious. Kendrick said, "Who's cutting onions on the show?" I'm curious, guys, because when this happened, this was not an issue for me and Allison at all. But a lot of people were like, "What did you do?" What Mark, right? So
I heard it too.
You heard it too.
Yeah, I heard it too.
At the end of the
I'll
day,
say something about it when we're done.
But what did happen was a great performance. By the way, you got a great performance. Got a nice little mini concert that you own. So that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, this is what is this from, babe?
I don't know how many years ago.
I'm just so, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna, you know, you guys are family. So your reaction.
Okay, well, don't you want to set it up?
Well, you go ahead, babe.
Okay, so when I was with Fox, so many great entertainers came through, and there was like a whole period where I think it was like, what's my man's name? Keith Sweat, El DeBarge, and then Christopher Williams, right? And so now, for me, like, you know, "Don't wake me, I'm dreaming," that piece right there. It was like everybody was swooning in the 90s, right? So these stars start to come in as they are now. And I used to do a little thing called 5 Questions With. And so this is a part of 5 Questions with Christopher Williams when things went a little like that. Little
Christopher
sideways.
Hansy Williams, if you will.
Sideways. Hey everybody, it's 5 Questions with Christopher Williams. Did you say Christopher Williams as if I needed to know what your name was? What? Okay. Christopher Williams, with your new music.
Yes,
Sounds so good.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us about it.
Okay, this I'm gonna tell you in the camera.
Okay.
My new music, my single "Too Late" came out. I believe it was September. Interview with
That's
this
right.
beautiful woman. I get
Hello.
to snuggle. My job is so
it's a snuggle because
terrible.
it has to be so close right
And I'm
now.
tired.
I
Like,
know. Rest your head.
I'm
Rest your
tired.
head.
I'm so tired.
So why this name Too Late? Because it's never too late.
No,
for
never too
Christopher
late. That's kind
Williams.
of like what the song is about. It's just kind of like a love inspiration song.
That scene in New Jack City when Nino Brown did stab Kareem in the hand. Were you nervous? Be honest. When Wesley Snipes that was a big old sword, and that was what was that on the table? Was it a fake hand? I'm sure it was a fake hand, but what kind of fake hand was it?
Okay, the movie magic was there was a square.
Okay.
This is my big hand.
All right.
There was a square right next to it. And the thing was, Wes is a martial artist, so he was like, I can hit the square. Well, we agreed to do it.
Go back and look at it.
Yeah, they
you
choked
agreed
me up.
Yeah, you got
Well, my neck
choked
is-
out.
My neck is
Yes.
right.
Oh, don't do it. Okay. All right. Now, so yesterday we spoke.
said,
Don't
"Okay."
do it.
She's like, "Oh, God."
Yeah. Yesterday El DeBarge was sitting right where you are. We
no.
did 5 questions on the couch.
I know he snuggled too.
El was a little more reserved. He said he was nervous, which I was like, what? You're El DeBarge. How you gonna be nervous? But that's
He gave you that Michael Jackson.
Oh, that's what he did. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Anyway,
Michael Jackson cookies.
so
love
back
my
in the
big
day, it was, and so when El goes high, you go low, right?
Yeah.
So
when he goes higher, I squall.
you go right.
The pastor
How high
comes
can you
out.
go?
I can go high.
See, let me hear the highest.
Yeah.
Let me hear the lowest. Woo!
That's as high as I can go at 11
That's
o'clock in the
fine.
morning.
Now, how low can you go?
Still in love. I said, still in love with me. Yeah.
You
Are
got
you
a
gonna
concert. Oh, it's not over.
be in love with me? I'm so sleepy that I
He's
just
sleepy. Okay,
wanna
he's sleepy. Marc, don't
lay
get mad.
my head on your sweet, sweet, still in love.
It's all right. Yes, Christopher Williams, and a concert too. Look, somebody's like,
Williams.
yes. All right. Thank you so much.
So, babe,
Yes.
Lady
Bird's like, Mommy, really?
put us in your head, babe.
Mommy, did you have an entanglement? That's what I'm listening to Jada's book. In my head, like at the end of the day, Kevin said he's still drinking booze. At the end of the day, for me, like we are professional people.
Yes.
And so when a bit is going on,
Don't ruin the bit.
I don't stop the bit. Like for me in that moment, there was nothing. You know who else did that? Tyrese Gibson.
What?
Yeah, was it is that his name, Tyrese?
I didn't
No,
see
is that Tyrese?
Tyrese.
Tyrese, yeah, from Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Did the same thing. So I think that it's like not in that one, but like, and I won't even say it. I was gonna say like a motherly, come on, baby. But
I don't know about
get
that
it.
now. Wait a minute now.
I get it.
Motherly.
So anyway, in that moment, it's just like, as long as it wasn't, I know the line and I know what it is. And you got like Christopher Williams, like this is Christopher Williams. And so he's putting his head right here. And there was no sort of like intimidating, overly sexual thing about it. It was just like, he's that's who he is. He was a sex symbol, so like still is, I guess.
Yes.
And he was doing his little sex symbol thing or whatever.
He pulled them all. He pulled out all the stops.
And you know what? So he
the big hands.
Yeah.
The da. He was
I didn't feel
strong
like-
neck. He was pulling out all the.
And for me, it was like such great content because watching New Jack City and the whole thing back in the day, like he was completely unfiltered. This is what I loved about when I did that. I did a lot of those, and they were all great.
Yeah.
Like
El DeBarge actually was very.
El DeBarge's was good. Keith Sweat was good. Like they were really good. The first one that I ever did was Layla Hathaway.
Yep.
And so in these moments, if I feel like it is disrespectful, if I feel threatened or whatever, then it just stops. It's just like I'm literally holding the phone, so I could be like, all right, that's it, and we're out, and don't ever trust. I have a voice and I know how to use it.
So
and
you didn't feel like
I never felt
and
like
Micheline was there too, right?
She might have been, but
yeah,
I would.
I think
Yeah.
Micheline was there too.
So anyway, but I will say that he hit me up after that and was like, I don't know if he was seeing like some of the comments, but he said I just looked back at that and I was really mannish in that, and I'm sorry about that or whatever. Now,
but that wasn't it. But then he
did he say like, do I feel like if I had answered him back was like, that's okay, you can make it up to me, then yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he says because he said something
he did
about
something
that.
like he tried it a little bit, but I clearly said I was married. In that thing I said like, Mark, don't be Mark, don't be mad, or whatever it was. So it's a bit, at the end of the day, we are we're TV people, and I'm not going to make it awkward or crazy, and it didn't get awkward and crazy. And it's for me, it's one of these moments that sticks out. Like, it was a fun moment.
Well, and actually the funny
and
part
for you,
was,
that's awesome. This is how you are. Like, it's like, okay.
Well, the funny part is I kept to keep the bit going. And the funny part though, I think, so you know how it is, it's a small world. So I was working in New York at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he was supposed to come up, but I think he was embarrassed. I think, how record reps, you guys know, record reps or people in the industry were like, oh, that was Allison Seymour. It's Allison Seymour's husband. Mm-hmm. So I'm in New York, and he was supposed to come up, and he canceled the interview twice. Okay. I think somebody in the circle was like, told him, and he probably was kind of like, I don't know how this dude's gonna feel about that.
Right.
But again, it was, nowadays, I think it's weird. Nowadays, that might have caused it might have been a whole thing. Because, nowadays, it seems like things are so, people respond so much to viral things or whatever. Mm-hmm. People would have been coming at me, people would have been like, wait, if he had a real man, so it's interesting. But it was a, hell of a voice though. And
it's the business, and I feel richer having spoken one-on-one with someone who was in the business, left the business. Now a lot is coming out about like, because I think he was under that line, you know what I mean? I won't say the name, because if you say his name 3 times, he might show up at your door. I think you know who I'm talking about. I'll go to his party.
Kevin Columbia. Hot. Kevin, like them hands would have been waiting for him.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the keep the bit going thing, the kind of, I think.
Unless it's disrespectful, I'm not going to just be like, whatever, because at the end of the day, even if I had felt the need to stop it, I would have been like, okay, that's good, thank you, and that's it, and then been like, whatever. But
and I think the thing about our relationship is kind of like a lot of this stuff is informed because we haven't had issues. Mm-hmm. So when people say trust, it's true. Like if you have trust issues with your husband or wife, then everything starts to change.
Or if you feel like, if that was, I don't know, who was a big star, woman star in the 90s, R&B singer in the 90s. If Brandy had done the same thing to you, and how you would have reacted as a man, then maybe some of that seeps in too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like, I know if I had that opportunity, I might do it this way. So if she has that opportunity, and that's Christopher Williams, like, don't get it twisted. He was that dude back in the day. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think,
let me ask you this. If it wasn't that Christopher had been through a lot.
Yeah.
He wasn't as handsome as he used to be, Chris Williams. If he was the gold standard Christopher Williams, would you have been nervous? Would you have felt any different if he obviously wasn't the best Christopher Williams? But I'm saying if he was the Christopher Williams,
What you mean nervous?
Huh?
What you mean nervous?
Would you have felt a certain way? Would
I have been attracted to him?
Yeah. Like if he was the Christopher Williams.
No, I mean, he's trying to get me in a.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just asking a question.
Let me tell you something about me. Even if we were, I don't know how old he is, but if we were single,
1991.
Yeah,
Christopher Williams.
91, 91. I'm not married, and he's. If that's never been my style. It's never been my style to like try to. I don't think that I have that thing in me that like tries to date really super high profile people, because I don't trust that those people are going to be able to give me ultimately what I need, which is a stable relationship with somebody who's not sleeping with everybody when they're on the road. That's just not me. So maybe that helps too.
Okay.
A little insight to
Look at Rick.
whatever.
Allison.
Yeah.
Good answer,
It's
Allison.
not me. It's that,
Well, let me tell you
I was
something.
single once.
Let me tell you
I was
something.
single once, and that's just not my vibe. It's just not my thing.
What y'all don't want me to do is play the tape of when Aretha Franklin did the same thing to me.
Or Janet Jackson snuggled up on you. Now, where's that tape?
Yeah, that was a picture. That's a picture, baby. That wasn't.
Okay, I'll snuggle back. I'll snuggle back.
Okay.
Anyways. Okay.
Okay, so
you did? Ooh.
Oh, the matchmaker's coming through. Okay, so Monique just wrapped up an interview on Club Shay Shay. I'm sure. So if Cat Williams did 50,000, Cat Williams did 50,000 plus views at this point. What do we think Monique's going to do?
Cat and then Monique. Have people?
She responded to all the Oprah stuff and all the Tyler Perry stuff. I feel like it's going to be more like 25,000.
Cat did
50,000, almost 60,000.
Yeah. I think it's going to be less because I think people value women less.
Oh, okay. Now,
and I think that when Monique was talking, nobody was listening to her when she was talking then. Perhaps now that Taraji has come out and we're in a little bit of a different stage and things. 50 million views for Cat.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 1,000. What am I talking about? It was 128,000 in the chat live. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think that it is not going to be. Why is my cousin Wallace Seymour so funny? He said, "I bet Shay Shay drinking again." I don't think it's going to be as many, but I'm interested in seeing because let the record show that I always supported Monique and everything that she said back in the day, and I didn't understand why people were not listening to her or valuing what she was saying.
It's weird. It was weird. It was weird how people. I hate to believe it's the woman thing, but it was weird. And I think the part that always gets you is when people in entertainment have something to say. It's like Rick, Dave. We're radio guys, right? So if somebody's talking about something in radio and not getting paid fairly as a black talent, it pretty much is. If you happen to be a black talent. I mean, again, Rick Party, Dave Anderson, myself, if we were white guys.
So there is still that.
You know what I mean?
Is there still that?
But so if someone says that, you're like, somebody's talking, you're like, all right, whatever. You don't even have to say anything. But when you say something against it, that's when you're like, what's really going on? And so I think it's a lot of times it is the industry. And so
Dave says it's par for the course.
It's par for the course, right? And so she basically gave the receipt. So
do you have a little bit of it?
I do not. Do not. It just wrapped up when we were getting ready for the show. But she gave the receipts from a standpoint of not just saying it, but saying, this is what happened.
Okay.
And kind of like if you followed it, she said it before, but she just fleshed out everything.
She's brave.
And Shay Shay was, Shannon Sharpe, that's a podcast is on fire because he's getting everybody. They invited Tyler, they invited Oprah. I think Oprah is kind of like, what did somebody say? It's the year of the truth. I think Oprah's power is kind of being exposed this year. I think at the end of the day, kind of a gatekeeper thing. And I don't think it's as dastardly as it is. Sadly, as David said, it's par for the course. I think sadly, it's par for the course. It's like, I'm not going to name, black-owned media companies, but when you have black talent, you don't have to technically pay them because the market doesn't demand it.
And I
when
think
you have black actors and actresses, you don't have to pay them what they're due because the market, like you say, you want to be in Color Purple or not?
I think it's also because, it's that inside, that family thing. Hey, girl, you do this for me, for so-and-so, whatever. And
Radio 1.
Yeah.
That was my thing with the Radio 1 and Miss Hughes. Like, at the end of the day.
That's Marc talking.
At the end of the day, it's like, quote unquote, a family, but you get treated bad, though. Like a family get treated bad. But on the flip side, as I'm saying this out my mouth, what company paid me the most my whole career? Radio 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's it. That's the spiel.
Par for the course.
And so, speaking of family, so I told you last night, I'm a big fan of Club Shay Shay and also Uncle Ocho, the shows. And so Shannon and Ocho were talking about their fathers and talking about family. And it was interesting. It made me think about all the baggage we carry and that we're not even aware we carry it. Yeah. Like I said last night, I'm talking to you about your dad, and all of a sudden I got really emotional. I'd never done that before. It was weird, right? Yeah. But so I'm listening to this in real time where Shannon's talking about if his dad and his grandfather could see him, right? So I'm gonna play a little bit of it, then I'll
that he didn't want his kids to see him in this kind of condition.
See him like that? Okay.
But what he didn't realize, I just wanted to see my father. It wasn't the conditions, it was the man that I wanted to see. And what I would give to have, if I could just have him and my grandfather, Barney Porter, the one that raised me, and him just to see what me and my brother became just for one day. Yeah, I would love to see years and years, but just for one day to see what me and my brother became. That would top any day Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame, for them to see that. Because I remember my grandfather and my grandmother because remember I told you, Ocho, my grandfather and grandmother didn't sleep in the same bed. My grandfather and my brother slept over here, and me and my grandmother slept over there. And they was having a conversation, and they thought I was asleep. I wasn't. This had to be about 2:00 in the morning. We didn't have a clock in the room, so I couldn't tell you. But I'm assuming it's probably around 2:00 in the morning. And I remember him saying so vividly. He said, "Mary," he said, "I might be dead and gone, but them boys gonna make something." He said, "They're so smart. They so attentive. They don't give us no back talk. They don't talk back." I'm thinking to myself, man, do you understand the punishment and the wrath that would rain down? And we're afraid to talk back. But he said, he said that young one, he said, "Mary, that boy remember everything." Because we was our grandfather's notepad. Because back then, Ocho, ain't nobody had no cell phone. So somebody told you their number, you just had to remember it. Somebody would tell my grandfather, "Oh, hey Barney, I got a new number, or I got a phone," because everybody at the time didn't have phone. "Hey Barney, I got a number, I got a new phone, I got a phone." And he tell it to them boys. So it was me and my brother's job to remember the phone number. And I just remember that, and that stuck with me. Here I am, 5-6 years of age, and he could project into the future 25 years later that them two boys gonna make something. Man, that made me so proud to hear him say that as I'm playing in high school, as I'm playing in college, and I'm playing in the NFL, and I'm thinking back, my grandfather saw this. And so to have my dad, my actual dad, and my grandfather, if only for one day, to see what I became, even if they don't see me play football, but just see the man that I became, because I named my son after my dad.
So boom, right? So I'm watching this and I see guys, I'm tearing up now. The funny part is in real time, I'm listening to this, and I met my father once. And I was like, how you kind of like, you're listening and you're thinking about yourself. And I was like, that doesn't really relate to me because I met my dad one time. He doesn't really know anything about me. But the deeper you think about it, of course it matters, right? And I thought about when I found out about my father. I met him once. But when my cousin called me when I was in my 40s and told me that my father, the one time I visited, had a picture of that, I felt a certain way. So, babe, the other night, I think when we talked about your father, who I was a caregiver for, I think that's what I think it hit that nerve, right? It hit that nerve because, we all, and I think Black men, so many of us, either don't know our father, we don't know our father's story. Shout out to David.
The story.
David Miller he told me last time we grabbed the coffee, he said, I told him, I met my dad one time. He said, "Well, what do you know about your father, right? And how do you know what you know about your father?" A lot of times, what we know about our fathers is just either a mother, sometimes disgruntled. My mother was not disgruntled. But, she didn't know much about him either, right? Because she hadn't seen him in 40, 50 years. So he was like, he says, I'm putting together a project where you find out about your fathers, tell their stories. You know, blessed enough to have, Babe had the best father, and now my father-in-law, but father in the world. And I think that's why my wife is so amazing, because as the caregiver, and that's what got me emotional, was it hit me, babe. The epiphany was a man of your dad's character, who was a prominent minister, you know, Howard, Harvard, you know, amazing leadership, Peace Corps, but able to laugh at himself, brilliant. He didn't have all the insecurities that most guys have. And that's what I got emotional, because I was like, that's the key. That's my wife. Yeah. So you're this, you allow me to be that same way, and you're the same way. But who has that? Very few of us have had that kind of man in our life. Most of us have flawed men in our life. Most of us have a man who, when the pressures were too high, they left, or we had a dad who he showed me that he loved me by buying us stuff, or vice versa. He didn't have any money, so he was defensive. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, that's what I think, why I got so emotional. And my girl Brandy is saying that, and it goes without saying, like, so this, how it sets you up as a man is one thing. How it sets up a little girl to be a woman is a whole nother thing too. And so, Brandy, I hear you. It matters to little girls as well, that father figure. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? And so, like, I totally get that. And they mean nothing. So I've been listening to Jada Pinkett Smith's book, and it's phenomenal and fascinating. I don't care what you think about Jada Pinkett Smith. I love her spirit, what she has to say. She's totally telling her truth in this, and it's eye-opening. And she was saying that the purpose behind that red table thing, well documented, her mother was a drug addict, stone cold drug addict, went and turned her whole life around. Now she's this amazing woman at this age. I forget how old she was when she had Jada, but she was like, girls need to hear their mother stories, because so many women just, when they become a mother, that's what they become. And that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But often we lose our identity when we become a mother and a wife. Like, there's never a moment that I haven't had a good night's sleep since the year 2000, when Sydney was born. Because I'm sleeping with one eye open, because I'm making sure everybody's in the house. I'm making sure whatever and all of that. So I think as a mom, the mom that I wanted to be, I just don't come first anymore, and probably won't for the rest of my life. And that's fine, because I gave life, with your help, 3 times to 3 amazing young women. But these stories, I do implore you. And now that we have lost our parents, like, I just want to be like, oh, I wish I had asked about this, that, and the third. Write it down, get it all, because it is the fabric of who you are. So, not to take any shine away from what you're saying. Oh no! But I love all the stories. All the stories. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. All the stories are important, and I think especially with the men. Kevin said what you said, Kevin. Sadly, I feel like that's how a lot of people feel. A lot of black men's stories don't mean nothing to anyone. But no, it does. It does, and I think that's a big part of it, because a lot of these, just like when your father isn't a part of your life, like, again, my father, I still want to know his story. And it's important to know his story, right? Because it's tied to you. And that story might lead up to why he couldn't be there for exactly. You. And I know there was an issue. He had an issue with his mother. His mother had a love issue. And let's not talk about when you don't have the mother. The mother love piece is real. And so it's so important. And I think all of us figuring out who we are, because again, I always say this, and you guys, if you followed us, you've seen this many times before. I say Allison can love me how she loves me because of the way she loved her father, and the way that I was loved. And it's not lost on me that I am extremely fortunate. And now that you don't have your parents in the physical anymore, you realize how special and important it is. And so yesterday I shared an epiphany with Allison. Spencer's calling me. Hi, Spence. I get I know, right? Just, hey, Bootsy, let's lighten this up. No, because of my observation about women yesterday, babe. We got to share that. Okay. So I tapped in, babe. I have to say, I look at Kevin. Kevin, this is the problem. You say no man wants to hear about black men's story, just saying facts. That is the problem. But you know what it is? It's the problem because a lot of people had bad. What's going on?
Go ahead. Daddy and I are doing
a lot of people
you back.
had that same belief. And so, Kevin, if you grew up with that belief, that is how you feel about it. You know, it's like family philosophies. And sadly, so many people come from a broken place. You know, so many people come from a broken place. They think that that place is the natural place. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It's not.
The purpose of this life is to find joy. We're not here to be unhappy.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, Kevin. Like you said, I grew up seeing it. So, Kevin, you grew up seeing it. But then what about the people who did? See, Kevin, we don't matter.
No, you do matter. You do matter. No, Kevin, you do matter.
But Kevin,
no,
that's
you
coming
have
from
to,
a perspective of
you have to change that narrative. You
Yes.
do matter, because if you sit in that space, then that's just affirming that. Like, our words matter.
manifesting.
When you say Black men don't matter, I understand. Look, this is how I was raised. Okay, I get it. But you cannot say that they do matter. It matters to me. Matters to you?
Heck yeah.
It matters.
It
So we have
matters.
to keep telling these stories, especially in this time that we're in right now, when a lot of the history of, you know, how we fit into the fabric of the United States, how some of that's trying to be like unraveled piece by piece. So we do matter. I am extremely interested. If I could be an anthropologist today and write folklore all day long, that's all I would do. I would go to your grandfather's house and he can tell me the story about where he came from, his origin story, who his people are. But we have to start doing this right now for ourselves. And we have to stand on it. It does matter. It does matter. I promise you. It matters to me anyway.
Well, and again, I think the comments you guys are saying, men are raised to provide and shut up. Why are the youth in DC doing crime? No, this is exactly what we're talking about. If you feel like that, if you feel like you don't matter, how can you possibly be in a relationship that is equal? You already feel like you don't matter. Right. If you don't love yourself,
or that nobody wants to hear from you.
Yeah, so if you don't love yourself.
I don't want this man to shut up, and I don't care how you were raised, because my thing is this: a lot of people were raised in a different way. A lot of women were raised my age or maybe one generation before to just get in the kitchen and shut up. So we've got to just change the narrative.
And I think again, what you're saying, Dave, is a lot of people are raised that way. And I think therein lies the problem.
Yeah, and
obviously,
you can change it.
Imagine if this is how I was raised. If I was providing, shut up. Well, I'm not providing. So if I'm not providing financially, and I believe that's all I am is to provide and shut up, then how could I love myself? How could I feel like I'm valuable to this relationship?
And then I feel like,
and that's what I think
you become distant. You can become abusive. You can become an absentee father if you feel like that that you have to just provide and shut up. And I don't know who the women are who want somebody who just provides and shuts up. Like, I've not heard.
But a lot of people are raised that way. And that's why you're saying, that's why we have to kind of like, that narrative is real for a lot of people, you know, and we have to change it, because that's what you do. You see that comment a lot. And again, this is the issue, not only in our community, in general.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, that dynamic for a lot of men right now, that's what makes a lot of men feel a certain way, because the reality is women, when you talk about corporate America, you talk about jobs, women, their employment opportunities are much more stable for a man. And as a man gets older, they decline. And so you're seeing kind of like a backlash, because the guy's like, well, like you said, if I'm balling at 35, but at 55, my job's in question. So and I feel like I'm the breadwinner and I have to put all this on my back, then you can't be happy.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it manifests itself in other ways. And so, what to say?
Kevin saying, why aren't we talking about the real problems? Why are Black women not married? Why? So I think we are talking about the real issues. We don't pretend to have any of the answers beyond the fact that clearly a great portion of our youth, you talked about DC crime, is in crisis. And I have to report it all the time, and I wish I had the answers to it. But we have good people in the room like Sally Williams, who has boots on the ground working to change some of these narratives as far as our youth. So, all of this affects us very deeply, very deeply. So we could be on here talking about whatever, Christopher Williams and all that, but trust and believe this matters because we are smart enough and wise enough to know that until the most troubled of us is in a safe space, none of us is in a safe space. And that's just how we are. So please understand who we are as people.
Kevin understands who we are.
And I can't tell you why some Black women aren't married, but a lot of Black women that I know are married. So tell me. You tell me what's going on as far as if you believe that Black women are not married as a whole. You tell me.
That's a whole bunch of there's a whole bunch of reasons there. Glenn says the sad lot of these fathers out there who don't provide. But yeah. Now what's interesting, Glenn, is I think it's hard for us to have the real conversation a lot of times. Like it's hard for Black folks to really just hop all in. Like you said, when we talk about dating and women and marriage and all that kind of stuff, the reality, the reality versus what we really talk about, it's always very challenging.
It is. And so we talk about what you want to talk about on the Marc and Allison podcast.
We're bringing it to you. So, babe, you want to share some Black history before we wrap things up, right?
Yeah, but okay.
Sharita.
So the next thing, Cookie. Okay. Sisters like Cookie, boots on the ground, dealing with all the issues that we deal with as a society. There are people out here in all these different arenas. She's businesswoman, entertainment, working with young people, all that kind of stuff, trying to pull everybody up. So we're out here, and it's a battle. Let's be clear. Let's be clear about that.
The stories, a lot of times the stories aren't told. Again, back to Bootsy Vegas, who has a program that not only does Bootsy guide these young people in media, but the success rate is crazy. It's like 98%. Kids coming to the program go on to college, most of them D1 universities, and it's like a pipeline. But again, you may not see that on the news. You may not hear people talk about it. You may not even hear some of his bosses give him the just due that he receives, but
now, wait a minute,
we will always do that. And so,
and we will always,
well, everybody's not married to a man or woman. Oh, that's true. And I think, to be honest, before you, in my opinion, if you don't love yourself, then I don't think you should get married. I think you have to love yourself first before you can add on to, marrying somebody, because that just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, please do. Please get it together for yourself. So, so next week, I guess, is Valentine's Day, and maybe we can hold our conversation because the time is getting late now. 47. So, just to talk about some of the things that we were talking about, how women say things and men receive it, not always the way, and vice versa, and how you can get over it. And we talked over it, and we talked about it, and I think that even after all these years together, we're exploring new territory with that and being more open. I really do think it has a lot to do with the kids leaving the house. I do, because now you got to sit there and look at somebody without all the distractions of taking your kids here and there, or you got to so we'll talk about that next week, because next week will be Valentine's Day. Okay. So speaking of which, now I'm not gonna belabor this point, but you have this picture. Let me just tell you about this woman. Is
Johnny on saxophone? Play the Black history music.
No, I'm trying to figure it out. The motorcycle. How many of you know about the motorcycle queen of Miami? Check her out right there. And the reason why I first I hadn't heard of her, and I'm making sure I have her name, Bessie Stringfield, right? Who's my Lovecraft Country fans out there? I watched the series. I love the series. And there was a moment where you see this woman, you saw her picture there, show it again, babe, driving along Hippolyta, I think that was her name, Hippolyta, when she's off to find herself, and they look at each other. So this woman right here, just to give you the cliff notes of it and look her up, she used to be the Negro motorcycle queen of Miami. Later, they just dropped that to the motorcycle queen of Miami. Check her out. Her name is Bessie, what's it, Stringfield? Is that what I said it was, babe? Bessie Stringfield. She rode this motorcycle alone cross country at that time, all the 48 connected states, what do they call it, contiguous or states, by herself. And she first did it in the did we say the 30s?
Yep.
In the 1930s. Now, I don't have to tell you about what was going on in the States in the 1930s, but she did this by herself. She would end up going cross country 8 times. She also traveled internationally. You can take that off now, babe. And during World War II, she is basically given the job of going between post to post, delivering mail. I think that's what she did. And then just breaking all these rules and barriers. She had that green book with her to see where she can stay out there on the road, slept on her motorcycle. She faced all kinds of craziness, as you can imagine. There was no 95. I need you to understand, there's no I-95. She's going on the back roads in Florida and South Carolina and North Carolina and all of that. And she is a trailblazer. What I love about her, though, there are a couple of different origin stories. Was she born in Jamaica to an interracial couple, then moved to Boston, or was she really from North Carolina? And was she really adopted by a white Irish woman back in the day who brought her into her Boston home? I don't know. But she basically crafted her own backstory. And how powerful is that, right? How powerful is that? And so today, the Black History fact, and look her up yourself, is the motorcycle queen of Miami, inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame and all of this. And she pushed through. And that's what I'm talking about. She wrote her own story. She didn't say, hey, I can't do this. I'm a woman. I'm a Black person in the segregated South.
That was crazy.
I am a Black woman. She didn't let any of that hold her back. Now, I get it. That's dangerous. It's scary. Not many people could do that.
Nope.
But she did it. And that speaks to the resolve, resilience, and the impact and power of when nobody's going to tell you can't do something.
Speaking of nobody's going to tell you can't do something, one of our legends is going to be honored. Shout out to Donnie Simpson. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
National Association of Broadcasters announced Donnie Simpson as a 2024 NAB Broadcasting Hall of Fame inductee for radio. Simpson, a legendary media trailblazer and award-winning program director, will be inducted at the NAB Broadcasting Hall of Fame event at NAB Show on Monday, April 15th, 2024 in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah.
He
said he just considers that the greatest honor.
What can we say about Donnie, right? What can you say about Donnie?
Just a super guy. Everything you think he is, he is.
Yep.
On many occasions has personally lifted me up, my spirits up, where I fit in to this landscape as far as media goes, especially in DC. And so we love and appreciate you, Donnie.
Everybody, thank you as always. Have a great one. We will see you next week. Same bad time, same bad station.
Valentine's Day edition.
We appreciate everybody.
Where we talk about, do you believe in Valentine's Day? Do you celebrate? That's going to be a hot topic because so many people don't.
Are we doing gifts this year or no? Are we doing Valentine's?
Our gift is kiss, kiss, and hug, hug.
Oh, that's right. You're my present. All right.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Be safe, everybody. Be good.